Hey everybody, Tony D and Little Joan here on a Screenwriter's Rant with Awake from Netflix. It's a movie and a trailer about a phenomenon that happens. It's a little bit like The Happening in M. Night Shyamalan. It reminds me of very much of an M. Night Shyamalan joint, as they say. And something happens, like an EMP burst almost, that kills all the cars and all the planes and everything else. And they eventually find out from Netflix. Eventually find out nobody can go to sleep. Okay? So all the electricity's dead, nobody can go to sleep, and then people start going through the phases of sleep deprivation. They get more and more disoriented, they have hallucinations, they escape a bunch of prisoners, they start killing each other, they have hysteria, and eventually this woman's daughter is the key to the whole thing. She can go to sleep, nobody else can. She's the only one that's got any reason. So this summer they need her blood or whatever to cure everybody or figure out why she can sleep and nobody else can. And that's what it is. So, I guess it sounds a little bit like there needs to be more there. I mean, it's not an awful premise, but there doesn't seem to be much to it. Seems like it would be better off as a Twilight Zone episode, not necessarily a 2-hour movie. But if you want to see it, it's on Netflix on June 9th. The characters appear to be normal for the most part, but I'm not particularly enamored by them. One of them apparently is a prisoner who escapes, and I imagine some of them got sleep, like the guys who got the most sleep will be the most normal for the longest. But I guess you would call it a disaster movie. Sort of a natural disaster, but a weird one. And that's what they're trying to push. So the first act would be, here's what normal life is like. It's all normal. And then these weird things start dropping from the sky. And then the next thing you know, they realize there's satellites and planes. The next day, everybody's, of course, there's a big accident when it happens for the main characters. They end up in a car being pushed into a lake, and then they have to escape, and they end up in the hospital. And the hospital's dark because there's no power. And so for the first day, nobody's going to notice until nobody can go to sleep, right? So then nobody can go to sleep except this one kid, and then things start, getting weird, right? The clock is ticking because by the time you reach, I think, 48, 72 hours, you're just going to unravel and be crazy. But I've done screenplays about sleep deprivation. I have a screenplay about a guy who physically can't go back to sleep, and he has about 72 hours to put his affairs in order before his whole world unravels. And, so I read a little bit about it. I mean, most people would just die. They'd be going crazy and they'd die. I don't think it would turn into the end of the world. And I also think after a time they wouldn't be able to cure anybody, right? But there also might be ways that people can sleep. I mean, there are people who sleep with their eyes open, right? And there are people who can achieve some kind of rest without actually sleeping. So, when you got the whole world, the stakes are so much higher. I don't know if this could really capture that in any kind of realistic way. But the first act would be normal life, then it would transition into this wacky world where everything fell from the sky and they don't know what happened. Then Act 2 would be them getting more and more sleep deprived, and Act 3 would be trying to find the cure before everybody died. Which I assume they do, because otherwise the movie would just end with this little girl watching everybody die and kill themselves. So, there's not a lot of surprise here either. And it doesn't look fun, so for me, it's kind of a pass for me. It seems like kind of, here's a bunch of drama. All right, it's over. And the drama is sort of artificially created because it's like a sci-fi story. You just say, oh, what if we couldn't go back to sleep and we only had 72 hours to cure ourselves? Yeah, that's a Twilight Zone episode. So, I don't know. They've been doing that a lot recently. I think they're taking concepts that really don't belong in a 2-hour movie and stretching them out too far. There's just not enough here. That's my opinion.